Hey, everybody, and welcome to a conversation with Movie Lovers Unite, specifically John DiGregorio. Did I
Yeah,
say
you
that
actually
right?
got it right, man. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Well, that was a lucky shot. I could have gone anywhere with that. So,
You did really
but,
good. I'm proud of you, man.
well, you got it. Well, it's kind of one of those, you have a lot of syllables in your name. So,
Imagine trying to spell it
DiGregorio.
in. Well, imagine trying to spell this. I spell my last name in grade school. That's
Oh,
just
my
one of those.
gosh.
Yeah, I could play Wheel of Fortune with it and maybe spell something different.
Yeah, because you got two I's, two O's, an E. I mean, all you're missing is a U and a Y. You got them
Right.
all in there. So yeah, you got all the vowels. So Wheel of Fortune. There you go.
Right.
So actually, I met John on KJ&A podcast one night, just out of happenstance, and then we did Fright Night and and Dune.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I wanted to talk to you. So basically, I just talked to folks about what they're doing. So how how did you come up with Movie Lovers Unite?
So it started off like as a Facebook page, and so my thing is this: I'm not big on Facebook groups. I hate Facebook groups. I hate trying to be an admin on a group. I had people try to get me to be admins. I'm like, look, I'm not an admin. Put me on a
Mm-hmm.
page. I'm good to go. I'd rather go ahead and ban someone, and I can just select the person and be done, versus having to go through a bunch of members.
Mm-hmm.
But how the page came about was this: I got tired of seeing like fake movie news,
Oh,
and
okay.
if you remember Movie Pilot back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
I got tired of seeing fake news and stuff like that when it came down to uh, sites like Movie Pilot, and we got this covered. But we got this covered came out like later on. But I got tired of that, so I'm like, you know what? I want to go on ahead and create a page where people can feel welcomed. Not only feel welcome, but be able to talk about their favorite movies just as I talk about my favorite movies, and they have a safe place to do it without being judged. Because all movies are subjective. But
Mm-hmm.
I might like, you may not like, or there might be certain things that you liked and I didn't like, and you can't measure film physically or anything like that. It's just something that cannot be measured. So, I always say all movies are subjective. I always root for people that love their films, even though I might not like their film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, good for you. I'm glad that you liked that movie. It didn't work for me, but I'm glad it worked for you. That's great. But I was always in that type of space where I want to do do movie news. So
Mm-hmm.
I did that. Then after that, I was like, okay, time to make a channel. And then at that time too, I also had somebody else that was working with me on the page, and I didn't put any type of advertisements into it or anything like that because I
Mm-hmm.
don't pay for advertising. And well, the admin at the time that I had was like, well, let's put some money into it. Let's go on ahead and do it. So then after he left, it just was just me, and I had a couple of other people, and it was just like, basically people coming and going.
Right.
Um, but I would never take anything back, and I'm happy that even though we may have our differences, I'm actually happy that he did support the page and he made it what it is. And then of course I continued off of it, but after that it's just been Rossi and I ever since with just the page. But I want to say I started back in 2013 or 15.
Uh-huh.
I think with the page now I have like 22,000 some followers on it.
Wow, that's a
So
lot.
it's done good. And everybody was telling me, "Oh, you cannot do a movie page because like movie taste and stuff like that is different for everybody." I said, "Yes, but if you do it right in the right kind of context, it can work." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"I can do movie memes. I can do memes from different movie quotes, stuff like that. I
Mm-hmm.
can make the algorithm work." And so that's what I did. Um, then one of my friends was like, "Well, you need to make a YouTube channel." So I was like, "Okay, now it's time to make a YouTube channel." So in 2000 and yeah, I want to say 2013 though, I started watching AMC Movie Talk, and I was trying to
Uh-huh.
learn the lingo, learn the business side of it. So I discovered John Campia, AMC Movie Talk, started watching them, watching how they do things as far as stuff goes. And then I decided, okay, it's time. So I went on ahead, made the YouTube channel. Then YouTube changed their ways of doing things. You know that. You have to have at least 1,000 followers at that time in order to go
Right.
live.
Mhm.
And I was using Google Hangouts to go
Oh,
live.
right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So think of it like this. So I'm like, okay, so now I can't do go live anymore. And it would take me 3 to 4 hours just to upload one video because my internet speed was so crappy because I lived down in this. I didn't. Here's the thing: I don't live out in the city area at that time, and so I had the most crappiest internet from AT&T.
So you were on DSL then back then?
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I decided not to worry about trying to do a movie show anymore. Then my
Mm.
friend D comes up to me and goes, "Have you ever thought about doing a podcast?" Like back, this is like in 2019. Okay. So it evolved into being several different things. And I also had another co host named Charlie and stuff like that. We had our differences and stuff. And then Rusty and I was like, look, it's always been you and I doing this together. Let's just make it just you and I doing it. I'm like, okay, it
Mhm.
works. But D was like, well, have you ever tried doing that? Have you ever tried doing a podcast? So
Mhm.
2019, I started the podcast and it was on my cell phone. And
Okay.
you remember Anchor, right?
Oh yeah, Anchor. Yeah, they got bought out by Spotify now, but yeah.
Right. So then I was like, okay, so I got Anchor. I'm using Anchor. I'm using it on my cell phone. And if you listen to like earlier episodes, you can hear crickets outside. You can hear different things because I'm doing the shows in my car.
Right.
And
Oh, okay.
like in the summertime in 100-degree weather in the south,
Yeah.
I'm going like through 3 or 4 bottles of water in my car because it's like the
And
most
you don't have
quietest
the
place.
air conditioner on, I'm guessing, because it's too
No,
noisy. Yeah.
exactly. So
That's
even in the
terrible.
evening time, I'm doing an hour-long show in my car in the evening time, and you can actually hear the crickets and stuff like that. I was like, I like the sound effects. I'm like, that's not sound effects. That's actually crickets in the background. They're like, oh, that felt really relaxing. I'm like, well, I'm glad it did, but that wasn't intentional. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. So then I finally managed to be able to save up enough for a computer, got me a mic, got me stuff set up. But also, too, at that time when I was doing just the audio stuff, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to do any of that. So I just was just uploading episodes
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And I was doing podcasting for about a year for the audio. And I'm eating lunch one day, right? So while I'm eating lunch, I had someone message me. I'm looking in my spam folder at lunch, and I
Mm-hmm.
happen to see a publicist from Netflix.
Oh, cool.
I'm like, what? So I'm like, this has to not be real. so so I ended up, I messaged her. She goes, yeah, we would like to actually do something for Martin Luther King Day. Want you to
Mm-hmm.
do a trailer reaction to a movie that we're releasing on that day. I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll do a reaction to it. And that's when I did that. And then I started networking with her more. She's like, well, do you like short films? I said, yeah, I like short films. She goes, have you tried the Holly Shorts Film Festival? So then after that, I started doing film festivals with the Holy Shorts Film Festival. I always knew what I wanted the podcast to be. I came out
Mm-hmm.
with a goal. Like, I want to be in film festivals. I want to have sponsors. I want to do this professionally for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a matter of getting there, right? Because you're thinking, how long is this going to take me? Is this going to take like a 4-year plan, 5-year plan, or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
And it happened within a year.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that to happen in a year. I also didn't expect to be able to interview Coleman Domingo a year later.
Wow.
So a lot of stuff is like, pinch me now. I'm dreaming. I'm living my life like I want, but still don't have no funds coming in. But that's okay because I love what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm humble enough to be like, wow, these
Are you
people's
still sweating it out in your car for
no.
those?
As you can tell, I'm in
Right.
my
Yeah.
I'm
You're not.
actually
You're
in my
inside now.
yes, I'm inside now, not sweating or anything. You guys don't have to donate to me or anything like that. I promise you I have a house.
No, that's wild. So, do you think like were all these things iterative? So, like the page begat this, and then it's a culmination of all those things, or what do you think? Kind of tipped it. Was there one particular thing that kind of put it over the edge, or?
I think it had a lot to do with the audio, even though it's in my car, even though, yeah, I'm just uploading. I'm not even editing anything. Everything's uncut, raw and uncut. And to know that I captured somebody from Netflix, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It felt surreal because I wasn't expecting it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought for myself, I thought, okay, this is my plan. I'll get 1,000 subscribers because
Mm-hmm.
that's what they normally look at. It's the subscribers, the followers, and stuff like that. So my first initial thought was I only have like 200, 300 subscribers at that
Right.
time. I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way Netflix is even interested in me.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not at that 4-year plan that I had. so anyways, whenever I got that, I just dropped my. I'm eating a roast beef sandwich, and I just happened to say, "What the f did I?" I was like, "You're serious?" I just stopped, and I'm like, "Okay, this is what I want. This is what I wanted. I just didn't expect to do it within a year, but I'll take it. I'm not gonna complain." But
Yeah.
yeah, I have to say, if it wasn't for me doing the audio and not doing anything at all, I wouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah. No, well, apparently you hit some button somewhere that people are like, hey, this may be interesting for us to deal with, right? So that's wild.
Right?
It's
Because I was doing movie news. Because it's
Mhm.
basically what I was doing. I was doing movie news, movie reviews, and stuff like that. No reactions, of course, but my reaction would be a trailer reaction review instead.
Mhm.
So that's how I would handle it. But yeah, I would never would have thought that that would happen, and I'm very blessed and thankful for that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So, I mean, as far as your background goes, I mean, did like did you go to school to do this? Was this obviously just something that you want to do, and so you're just pursuing it? I mean, what's the path that brings you to that point where you're like, I think I'll do this back
It
in
was my passion for
2013?
movies. It was
Yeah.
really my passion for movies. I have no degree
Hmm.
in here's the thing, I have no degree when it comes down to film school.
Right.
I have no degree when it comes down to doing any kind of audio editing. Everything is self-taught,
Right.
and
Well,
I
that's
also didn't
cool.
know how to thanks because I didn't know how to even edit my own stuff. So it wasn't until I started doing, let me think here, I actually had conversations about dot 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 podcasts on with me
Mhm.
doing Obi-Wan. So that's when they're like, look, we can't hear William. Can you increase his volume levels when you edit it?
Mhm.
I'm like, edit. So after that, like, yeah, I got to start
Sure.
handling this in the right direction. So I started knowing how to increase the volume levels, how to take out uh, delays and
Mhm.
dead space and stuff like that. I learned how to do all that stuff on my own, including doing shorts for YouTube. But I had someone teach me that part though. Here's the thing: I had this friend named Luke. Luke helped
Mhm.
me out. He's like, look, and as a matter of fact, he's actually doing. I don't know if you ever heard of Christian Harloff.
No.
He's also another pundit who does movie news and reviews and stuff, which is also
Okay.
another person that I actually look up to as far as my inspiration goes with John Campea and Christian.
Hmm.
But here's the thing: Luke is working with Christian, and he's even deeper in with Christian now. But before then, he's like, "Look, I'm going to teach you how to make shorts."
Hmm.
So he taught me how to make shorts. He taught me how to make the captions. He taught me all that stuff, and then the rest, I just went on ahead. Once I got that first high of 1,000 views, I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm gonna keep going.
Right. You hit a point there, and you're like, okay, this is working.
Right, exactly.
So did you have? So you talk about loving movies and so forth. Is this something that came from childhood, or what do where do you think you picked up on that at?
I would
Just
have to
kind
say
of the
childhood. 1989 Batman for me was my first
Batman.
movie.
Yeah, big
So
movie.
that yeah. So therefore, that had a lot to do with my whole entire. I mean, that had everything to do with my love for movies, including Jaws.
Mm. But then now you talk about 89. Then if you're a kid, and Jaws is 75.
Right, 75. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, okay? I'm like 9 or 10 in 80 in the 80s, right?
Right.
So I would always go across the street where the projects are and everything because my family members lived in the projects area, and
Hmm.
I would walk over there to get Jaws every single time during the summertime. I never failed. I would always borrow Jaws from them.
Yeah. So you're like a VHS kid then. So
Yep.
everything was on video store, VHS kind of a childhood then. So would you go to the video store? Would you be one of those folks that went to the video store and got like, as many tapes as you could for the weekend or what have you?
Yes, Blockbuster. A matter of fact, my grandmother knew the guy in Blockbuster. He would actually have movies set aside for me whenever I came in during
Ah,
the summer.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, this weird tangent. I worked in a video store, not Blockbuster, worked for like a private, like a mom and pop kind of thing. And I mean, that was kind of, those were the days, right? With as far as media goes, it was the gateway for home media, right? So now we got
Right.
streaming where everything's there, but before that you had to wait, and then you went in, and it was just rows and rows of movies, and you would go at where I worked at, you had to get a tag. You didn't even actually take the movie off the shelf. It was just a tag, and you take your tag up and get your movie. And
Yep,
I mean, that was
I've been
big
into those
doings.
stores before.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's old school, but not Blockbuster. Blockbuster put them all on the shelf, but I mean, that was everybody's initiation at that time into accessible movies, right? You didn't have, before, you had to go to the theater. I mean, I suppose you could talk about 16 millimeter prints or something, but nobody really did that. Not many people. That's interesting. So that was your formative years were basically in those times when, because when Batman came out on video, oh my gosh, I remember even where I worked at, it was just a wall full of Batman, you know.
I remember
Uh,
the billboard thing that they had, like for Batman just standing up for the VHS tapes.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
remember that as well. And then also too in the movie theater, they actually had a comic book based off of the movie itself.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the
So
tie-ins were just crazy for that movie.
it really was. That was a great time for cinema if you think about it, when they sold merch to the movie
Mhm.
that you're seeing. So when you come out, you're wanting that comic book or you're wanting some type of merch that represents what you've seen. It was an
Right.
event to go to a movie theater, to go see something.
Right. Oh yeah. And that one, I remember going to see that movie, and I think I went on. It had to be the opening weekend at like 7 o'clock or something. It was packed, an absolute packed theater. I mean, there was hardly any place to sit. I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
I haven't experienced that for a decade, maybe or
I
more.
experienced that for the very first Avengers movie.
Hmm.
And I felt bad for my poor friend Kevin because my friend Brandon and I were here's the thing, at 12 o'clock midnight showing, and we're driving
Yeah,
45 minutes to go see this movie. My friend Kevin is already in the theater holding seats. I'm like, dude, you need
he's
to just hold seats for us.
he's trying to hold seats.
Right. Just, dude, I don't know
These are
how much
taken.
longer I
These are
can do
taken.
this.
That's wild. So then, but I mean, that's interesting. So that's kind of the formative nature thing. Was there like, was your like parents or your aunts or uncles or somebody like really into it? So then that way, well, obviously you said you had to go get the Jaws tape from your aunt, right?
Right.
So they were kind of, feeding the passion in a way because they had that available for you.
Right. But my mom took me to the majority of the movies that I wanted to go see.
Hmm.
Like if
So,
you notice in any of my movie reviews or whatever, I always mention my mom and I in the nostalgic part of the episodes. I'll be like, "Yeah, I remember my mom taking me to go see this or that." And so
mhm.
that when I was young, when I was like in '95 and stuff like that, my mom and I did a lot. She took me to a lot of movies I wanted to see, and I made her go sit through some horrible movies that I apologized over and over again that probably traumatized her and probably wants to go see a psychiatrist. But and then everybody was mind blowing because she let me go see Bad Boys at age 10. She let me go see Seven at age 10,
7. Oh my god.
which, dude, I think that was just payback for me making her suffer through all those movies. So she wants to traumatize me. But yeah, she was just surprised I sat
Although,
there.
although, I mean, if this is your interest, right? I mean, this is your, as a kid, this is your big interest. Well, I mean, obviously you don't want people to be traumatized, but why not? I mean, this is not like it's a exploitation movie. This is a big Hollywood movie. So, Seven was, it had some cachet at the time. And I'm
Right,
sure if you were tuned into that, you'd be like, I want to go see that because it is, above the fray, as it were, for that time period. So that makes some sense, right?
right. And
Even though they're R-rated movie, but
right. But here's the thing, though. Like, there was just something. My mom thought too. I'm gonna go talk about this one last thing about Seven, but
hmm
my mom probably didn't think I was gonna sit through this movie. She thought maybe I might be bored. It was a 9 o'clock showing,
hmm
so she was thinking, well, he'll be out like a light, and all I have to do is just carry his ass home.
there
But
you go. She's hoping for you to conk out.
right, nope, didn't work. But I would also have to say, like anything at that time, like Edward Scissorhands, and then there was The Crow. It was
Oh, The
very,
Crow, yeah.
and here's the thing, it was very weird. Like I'm into like the gothic kind of setting and stuff like that at that time. I love Danny Elfman as a scorer. Never thought I would actually interview Richard Elfman,
hmm
but it was just mind blowing of hearing the scores through Batman and then hearing them through Edward Scissorhands and then hearing it again through other stuff. And then, mom was like, "You want to see this gothic movie? Brandon
hmm
Lee, you want to see this?" Yeah. Okay. So we went to see that. We saw Edward Scissorhands. We also, get this, she wanted to go see Howard Stern's Private Parts.
Right.
I went and seen that with her.
That's funny. Yeah, but I mean,
So
if you're like, if that's your thing, then why not? I mean, it's eventual. I'll put it that way. You know,
right,
especially in the age of video, you're going to see it. You were going to see it when it came out on video, no matter what.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was nice. I mean, that's very supportive of your interests there. That's fantastic.
Thanks, man. Because seriously, I went from seeing movies with my mom to seeing movies with my brother-in-law as I got older
Mhm.
to seeing movies now by myself or with my wife and stuff like that
Mhm.
too.
So
But
now you said by yourself. So how do you like the go? Do you actually go to the movies by yourself at the theater?
yes, well, here's the thing. There are movies that my wife will go see with me, and there's ones where she says, "Have a good time." One of those being was Godzilla versus Godzilla and Kong, and the other
Uh-huh.
one was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
I was like, "Are you sure you're not going to be mad at me for going to see this with some of my friends either? Because I'll go over
Yeah.
and see someone's." Just no, that's all you. Have a good
Yeah.
time. Like, okay,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I always have a hard time going to the theater by myself for whatever reason. I've done it in the past and so forth, but then I'm like, you get kind of wishy-washy. But I think that being able to do that, it shows your commitment.
right. And here's the crazy thing, though, man. Like, I feel socially awkward going to a movie by myself. Like, it just feels weird,
Mhm.
because you want to be able to geek out, talk to somebody next to you or something.
Yeah.
And and you're by yourself, and then you see everybody else, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's a little weird. So now, since we've got, streaming is so, prevalent and so forth. And I mean, it used to be, obviously, in the age of VHS, you had to wait a long time for a movie to make it on the VHS. Now, though, I mean, literally within a month or something, it gets the movies, and the next thing you know, it pops up on, you can pay Amazon to watch it at home. What's your thoughts on watching at home versus actually going to the theater?
I think there are movies for at home, and then there's movies where you have to go and see something cinematic.
Hmm.
Because I was like, I can get that same experience on a sound bar and my big screen TV. I said, really? So you can get the Dune wide shots on your little bar there and your 60-inch screen.
Hmm.
For something like Dune, which is also an event film like Batman, for example, you
Hmm.
have to see that in theaters. There is
Hmm.
nothing like going to see a Dune movie in theaters. I seen Dune 2 in theaters and I fell in love with it in the theater watching that. Um but I think there's movies that are like comedies and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that can be streamed at home.
Hmm.
But when you have an event movie like Deadpool that's getting leaked online, and I'm looked at my wife, I said, I gotta go.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean you gotta go? I gotta go see Deadpool because otherwise I'm gonna have everything spoiled for me. So therefore, I have to go on and see it. But I do agree with you about that question, though. I think that streaming is good in some aspects, but in other aspects, though, at the same time, I feel like it kind of kills the movie theater experience. Because think about it like
Hmm.
this: you can pause the movie anytime you want. You have to go use the
Right.
bathroom. Guess what? You can pause it. You can put your feet up in your recliner at home. You can go. I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm just saying I've seen people put their Cheeto toes on the seats. I'm like, you need to get your disgusting feet off there. But
Yeah.
and then there's also the overuse of cell phone usage in the movie theater, and I can't. And it
Right.
takes me, but me having ADHD and having a blinding light distract me, that gets on my nerves, especially when I'm trying to do a review and trying to. I don't take notes in the theater. Pretty
Hmm.
much what I do is, and now if I'm by myself, that's a different story. But if there's like a lot of people next to me, I don't take notes.
Hmm.
I just basically talk about the things that stood out to me and that I remember,
Hmm.
and I go from there. But as far as taking notes in the theater, I don't do that because I try to be respectful to other people
Hmm.
in the theater. But I think that streaming can be good, but also can be bad though too, because it can also spoil you to the point where you're like, you know what, screw this. I might as well just stay home because there's $20 here for me to
Right.
go watch the same movie in theater,
Hmm.
and I don't have to spend $30 or $40 in gas. I don't have to spend money to eat out on. I have
Hmm.
all my food here, so it's a convenient thing. But I also
Right.
get it for people that have kids and can't go to the theater and how convenient it is. Who has kids and how convenient it is. So I
Yeah.
get it from a parent standpoint because I'm also a parent too. But at the same time, though, there's nothing like going to a movie.
So are you gonna? I don't know how old your kids are, but are you gonna take them to the equivalent of seven when they're 10 years old?
My daughter would be traumatized. She's 20 years old, but she would be traumatized because she doesn't like anything like that. So,
Yeah. Well, if she did
um,
like it, I guess.
right. Now, my 11-year-old, he's autistic and stuff, and I'm just waiting for him to have his own personality in a sense to where
Hmm.
he's going into a little bit of the pop culture kind of thing
Yeah.
to where I can take him to a theater and watch a movie or whatever. Because we tried going take him to go see the new Spider-Man at one time, and
Hmm.
it wasn't good.
Didn't work
It
out.
was it didn't work out too well. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping as he gets older and everything, I can do more with him when it comes down to that.
Well, it's
But
pretty noisy. I mean, movie theaters are, historically they attack your senses when you're. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? Is to be to see these things that you cannot see in real life and have things happen that don't happen in real life, and then the sound is overpowering sometimes, and so yeah, I could see where that would be kind of tough if you're not into it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the so what do you think things are going then? I mean, you've obviously had some good success and so forth. Do you have like plans for the future?
Okay, so my goal is for this year is to do better on shorts because I'm also producing and directing Rossi's channel though to her YouTube channel and her audio podcast.
Hmm.
But my goals are to do a better job at being organized,
Hmm.
not only organized but also doing shorts more, doing clip outs, attaching shorts and also clip outs to long form content on YouTube, and also to book more guests on the show. But
Hmm.
as far as my goals for 2025, my thing is I want to make this my career,
Hmm.
and we have a Patreon and stuff like that. But I try to reformat it. I try to do different things with it, and nothing is hitting. And
Hmm.
so the intermission stuff that I used to do is now just going to be just putting it onto the audio podcast now.
Hmm.
So until I figure out what else I'm going to do, because I like to
Yeah.
evolve it, I like to change things. Um, but my other main thing is I want to book um more guests like Coleman Domingo and Richard
Hmm.
Elfman, and having those like I like having celebs on a little bit, but I also
Sure.
like. But here's the thing: I deal with a lot of indie films and short
Hmm.
films to the point where I'm like, I'll take that too. I'll take
Yeah.
anything just to help other people to get their voice out and their movies out there. Because I don't know if you've seen my latest interview with Jason Pitts for their film or anything. I had a 5 panel show on doing an
Hmm.
interview for that one.
Cool. No, I haven't seen that. I'll be honest with you. So,
But yeah,
but the that's interesting. So it really is branching in a way. I mean, obviously, but not. But you're still kind of staying true to the roots of everything.
exactly. Like I'll go outside my roots a little bit. Matter of fact, I actually ended up interviewing Matt Barnes, for example, an NBA player who had his documentary out on the Holly Shorts Film Festival.
Hmm.
So I got in touch with his publicist, and I'm not expecting anything. I'm like, hey, I would like to actually interview Matt for his documentary film. I'd like to also have a screener for it.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, they're like, yeah, absolutely. So they let me have it. They let me have they sent it over to me. Booking Matt was hard. Was probably
Yeah.
one of the hardest things to do, including Coleman. I felt like I was actually on a dating app with Coleman though, because of the fact that I felt like I was ghosted because publicists and stuff like that. It was like 2 or 3 months since I've
Right.
heard anything back. Next thing you know, it's like, hey, are you still interested in Coleman being on the interview? I said yes, because Coleman also was interested in coming on this thing anyways, because he was actually my first celebrity that followed me on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
So
So
in
he's familiar then. Yeah.
Right. And also too, whenever I was tweeting at him about his film, he liked it, he retweeted it, and then he's like, and then I was like, Mr. Coleman, I would like to interview you. He goes, yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. So he goes, reach out to my publicist. So I reach out to his publicist, and I don't hear anything for about 3 months. I'm like, okay, maybe this is not happening.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a couple months later, I wind up having him on. So, and I want to tell this to people that are listening. I'm like, just because you don't hear anything back doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just
Hmm.
certain people are busy, and just
Right.
because we keep to a schedule, and it's normalization for us to have a schedule, especially
Hmm.
when we work like a 9 to 5 job, right?
Hmm.
For them, they work 24/7 basically in a sense, and the publicist has to keep up with their schedule for them. So it's a lot harder for them to keep track of stuff. So I just tell people, hey, look, if you want to reach out to anybody that I network with, you're just gonna have to be patient with it.
Right.
And with Matt, he, I was texting them back and forth, and I went outside my roots a little bit, like I said with sports.
Hmm.
Like, dude, I had a power slap actor on last year that was part of sports. I
Hmm.
also had, and also he was an actor. I always try to make sure that whoever I have on is also connected in with movies and also
Hmm.
an actor or whatever. So if that's what their passion is sports, I want to make sure that they're actually for my brand.
Right.
So get this. I actually had I had a tennis player that used to play in the Challenger circuit. He's also
Hmm.
a sports doctor,
Oh,
and he was in the
okay.
movie Challengers.
Interesting.
And so I had him on the show. We were talking about the Olympics. We were talking about different things. So I like the fact that I went a little bit outside my circle and outside my comfort zone a little bit, talk about something different that I don't normally do.
Hmm.
So that's what I try to push myself every year, is try to do something different and try to expand on it.
Yeah. The interesting thing I think is celebrities and so forth are like contractors. A contractor, you get a hold of them and they're, yeah, I'll come over and fix whatever. And then you don't hear from them for a month because something else came up. And so, it's always like that, right? Because they're
Right.
basically going to they have to jump from thing to thing in order to keep everything rolling. They can't always just say, yeah, Friday, I'm all yours, because Friday maybe something else happens that they have to go do. So, yeah, it's
Right,
interesting.
exactly.
That's wild. Well, that's interesting. So, well, you know, obviously I think you're doing great. I've watched from afar, and obviously, thank you for letting me be a part of your show a couple times. It was fantastic, and the it's interesting to me that you're so focused. I mean, so many people. Just be honest, a lot of people, this is very hobbyist, and so they're not as focused as you are. You obviously have a goal in mind, and you're working on ways to reach that goal. And if it means to learn something or do something different or try this or try that, you're obviously all in for it. So, kudos to you for
Thank
being
you.
so determined at pulling this all together.
Thank you, man.
It's
I do appreciate it.
yeah, it doesn't happen. Everybody doesn't do it.
Right.
Uh,
And I want to point this out though too, like with the intermission stuff. I don't know if you ever listened to any of those shows.
mhm.
You,
Yeah, I have a intermission. Yeah, I have listened to those. Yeah, a
okay, so
couple of them, not
basically,
all of them, obviously, but
right, exactly. I have over, I have a big catalog. I'm
yeah.
sorry. It just goes to show you I'm a workaholic. But with the intermission idea was like this. I was listening to another podcast. They had this other side show called Brunch. So I'm
Hmm.
like, you know what? That's an interesting idea. Why don't I just take their idea and
Hmm.
mesh it into something different?
Hmm.
So I was like, what can I do that is different, that doesn't say the word brunch on it? And
Right.
I know that intermission used to be a thing with movies.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's just take a break. Let's just picture me and you inside. And this is actually how I used to introduce the show. I was like, picture it, me and you waiting in line, and we're
Hmm.
talking about our top 5 movies, or if we're talking about the new Eminem album, or the new Avenged Sevenfold album,
Hmm.
or just a mixtape of something. That's basically what intermission is. It's
Hmm.
just taking a time out from the norm and talking about geeking out with different things.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool.
Thank you, man. The crazy thing is, the most played episode wasn't even a movie related episode last year.
Oh, really? What was it?
It was actually the Eminem Marshall Mathers LP.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Go
like,
figure.
right,
That's always the hard part. To me, this is the hardest part of all this is, I mean, it's hard to obviously keep doing content and so forth, but one of the things is you see something like that happen, right? So you see this peak on this topic and you're like, why? Why that topic? You know what I mean? Amongst all of this stuff that's going on, why did that, why was that gravitated to more than all this other, quality stuff that you would think would be a little more, uh, people would be more into? And it's constantly, I mean, obviously it's one of those, the mysteries of the world, I suppose, but, why that happens. And I know you can analyze it to, kingdom come, but do you, how do you deal with that? So you saw the peak on that, and then a lot of people would just be like, okay, now from now on, I'm just going to Eminem stuff. Because
No,
obviously that's the thing.
that's not what I'm about. I'm not about music. I'm not like music lovers unite or music hip hop
Right.
lovers unite or anything. It was just one of those things where I did two Eminem review. Well, maybe three. I did three Eminem reviews because it was just
Uh-huh.
something that me and my guest felt like we needed to do.
Mhm.
And we didn't even have a clue that he was even coming out with a new album up until like later on. So we
Yeah.
did the Marshall Mathers LP. Then we followed up with the Slim Shady LP. Then after that, it was actually the death of Slim Shady. And after
Hmm.
that, we didn't do any more Eminem reviews.
Oh, I was gonna say then you did 8 Mile. No, I'm just joking.
No, but it might be tempting. But I have thought about doing like the 8 Mile review though, but for the
Right.
movie. But when I see numbers like that, I laugh at it. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
All these
It's
movies I reviewed, you don't want to hear me to talk, bitch, and moan about my take on movies or anything. You want me to talk about this.
right.
But in order for me to talk about this, you also have to go on ahead and get me with movies too. So
Right.
when I see numbers like that, I'm like, okay, cool. I crushed it on that, but I don't need to
Right.
follow it up with anything else. I'm going to go on
Right.
ahead. I'll do best movie. Get this. I actually did an NFL draft style game for
Hmm.
intermission. It was like the best Leonardo DiCaprio movies. And what
Okay.
we did was we picked 16 movies out of this thing, and we did like an NFL draft. And me and my guest talked about each movie that movie was, but we don't talk about the performance. We talk about rewatchability, relatability, and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and we come out with the winner that way. And so happens to be we actually had What's Eating Gilbert Grape landed on our list twice because we actually did after Leonardo DiCaprio, we did Johnny Depp.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So
Crossover.
right, so basically we made What's Eating Gilbert Grape have a rematch in the Johnny Depp round.
How did it
So
do?
it did pretty good for the numbers for a little
Yeah.
bit and stuff.
I
It
like
did,
that movie.
but yeah,
John
it
C.
did good.
Riley as well. John C. Riley's
Yeah.
in that as well. So
Matter of fact, I
yeah.
did that movie part of mental health. I actually did a whole review on What's Eating Gilbert Grape when I was first starting out.
Hmm.
So if you're looking through my backlogs and stuff, you can actually find that episode. And I did a review on that. It was when I was doing Mental Health Month
Oh, okay.
and doing a mental health movies. I did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I've
Hmm.
done What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I've done a lot of these mental health topic movies that I thought was really good because I wanted at that time, and I still do. I wanted to actually be a salt of light for other people.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I want to do something impactful. So I did like
Hmm.
4 movies on mental health.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, everybody you see on the screen there, redcircle.com/shows/movie dash lovers dash unite. Uh, John D. Gregorio, he loves movies and he always has, apparently.
Yeah,
And you can listen to him at Movie Lovers Unite. And then obviously, I guess you go. Do you still host the Facebook group? Are you still doing all that work too?
I'm still doing I still have a Facebook movie page on Facebook.
Yeah.
I still
So
have
we can
that.
go
I have
there as well.
Instagram. I got TikTok, which that's not going to be a thing anymore. But I still have everything. I still have it.
Maybe saying bye bye to TikTok here in less than a week. Yeah.
Right, which sucks because it took me a year to get 1,032 followers, and now
Yeah.
all that work was nothing. It's like for Gacy.
Well, it,
Uh,
it may have a reprieve, so don't I
hopefully,
wouldn't worry too much about it.
but but yeah, man, I'm still keeping busy on my movie
You're
page.
super busy. Oh my gosh, I scan through stuff on the different socials, and you always got stuff. Always got stuff, and I'm just like, man, this guy's just all over it. I can't keep up on my
Well,
side of things.
before we close out, because I know we're about to, but I want
Yeah,
to mention this real quick
sure.
too. Is if I feel like if I don't do a show, if I don't post something, I'm doing a disservice to my followers. I'm doing a disservice to my subscribers and a disservice to my listeners if I don't have something. Because
Yeah.
there's a reason why they subscribe. There's a reason why they're there. It's like,
Mhm.
like for example, I always use this analogy, right? let's say for instance you signed up for DirecTV and you only had a basic. Let's say you only have you have a channel. You may have
Mm-hmm.
like three or four channels, but guess what? If there's nothing on them, then what's the point?
Right, right.
So
True.
I want
Right.
so with me with that, I just feel like I need to do something instead of nothing. And I also have a thing saying if you're not growing, you're dying. So I have that need of wanting to do something. And it's never
Uh,
for the sake of doing something. It's always for a reason. And I'm gonna keep doing this until it stops being fun.
yeah. Well, fantastic. And everybody stop by and take a look. And I mean, you're crushing it
Thank you,
and getting it all done. And,
thank you, man. A matter of fact, I just released a new episode called with Practical Magic. I did that with Fiction Fixation podcast.
mhm.
I did that review the other night, and that's out on the audio. I also got my Squid Game season 2 review that I'm dropping
I
soon.
saw that.
So
Yeah. I saw you had a blurb about that today. I think I saw
yeah,
that. Yeah.
so
So, yeah. Have you finished all of Squid Game too, by the way?
yeah, all of it is done. Here's
Yeah.
the funny thing though too, that you're gonna laugh your ass off on. The first season, I only reviewed the first 3 episodes,
Oh, yeah.
and it had like 246 downloads.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so yeah,
season two was pretty good.
season 2 was good. It started off kind of slow at first.
Yeah.
I'm like, should I become invested into this? I don't know if I want to do this. Then once you get it past episode 4, I'm like, okay, I'm sold.
Yeah. No, it was they did it differently than it wasn't just a rehash of the first season. That's the important thing.
Exactly.
It's not a rehash. We won't go into the spoilers or anything,
No,
but
absolutely.
check
That's
it
what my
out
show's
with
for.
yeah, that's right. Check it out with Movie Lovers Unite. John DiGregorio. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll be watching.
All right. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate you having me on. I do appreciate it.
Hold on a sec.